Hi guys, Casey Talks EV here. So this is a follow-up on a previous video that I did on Octopus Agile. So that was the first 6 months or 180 days. I now have 352 days of tabulated data, and we can now figure out, first of all, how much Octopus Agile had saved me over the year compared to my previous tariff and a big six tariff. But also what we can work out is whether or not it's worthwhile to go on Go or Agile or another fixed tariff that's currently available on the market, and also why wholesale energy prices are also increasing. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's start off with the hard numbers that I've got after 1 year on Octopus Agile. So in total, I will put the table up here as well. So total kilowatt hours is 11,944 kilowatt hours. That's substantially higher compared to, let's say, the off-gem average household use. So that's 3,100 kilowatt hours. However, given the fact that I do have an electric car, I've also got two high-powered appliances in the house, so that's a 10.8 kilowatt electric shower, as well as a electric oven, as well as all the other ancillaries that a normal home would have, like a washing machine, a dishwasher, and a tumble dryer. So that seems to be quite high, but that is to be expected. So in terms of total cost in pounds, Octopus Agile cost me £1,190.59. Simplicity Energy cost me £1,424.24 if I extrapolate it, as well as British Gas is a big six tariff that I chose, was £1,653.12. So total cost per day was £3.26 for Octopus Agile. That does include the standing charge, by the way. Simplicity Energy was £3.90 and British Gas was £4.53. So the average price per kilowatt hour I also paid on Octopus Agile was 10 pence per kilowatt hour, 11.9p per kilowatt hour for Simplicity Energy, and 13.8p per kilowatt hour for British Gas. And the price or the savings I made going to Agile from Simplicity Energy is £233.65, and from British Gas to Agile would be £462.53. In terms of the percentage difference, it was 16.41% and 27.97%, and difference per day was 64p and £1.27 for Simplicity Energy and British Gas, respectively. In terms of how many days more it would have actually cost me to be on Agile compared to the other two, it was 139 days and 80 days for Simplicity Energy and British Gas, respectively. And that is the perfect moment to go and talk about what is actually happening in regards to Agile prices. So, what has actually happened in regards to Agile prices? Now, I've actually overlaid a graph here which shows Agile savings versus Simplicity Energy as a cumulative scale. So, this is where all the savings add up. And this is for the whole 352-day period. And as you can see from the total savings, my total savings was close to £300 for the first 7 months. Now, if it extrapolates to that point, that would have been absolutely amazing. However, you can actually pinpoint the exact moment where things started to go downhill, which was the 28th of December 2020. Now, just a bit of background, Agile is linked to wholesale prices. Now, I do want to note that wholesale prices that you see on things like EPX Spot or Nordpool will be slightly different to the prices that Octopus actually pay themselves. And the reason why is because they do an individual negotiation normally between the energy producers and the energy supplier itself. However, normally it's around double wholesale prices, or between 4 and 7 p.m. there's an additional levy of 17p. What happened after the 28th of December is that there was very little or nearly no opportunity for negative or very low prices. Now, I can definitely name a few exceptions to that. So, for example, the 20th of May was a definite exception. I'm actually filming this on the 22nd of May, 2021. And I think there was another period in March where we did also experience a spike in negative rates. However, what actually also happened was, even though there were a few days where it did drop below zero or was very close to zero, the prices on an average day would rise beyond 20 pence per kilowatt hour, or 15 to 20p per kilowatt hour, especially when at least my household would be using a significant amount of energy, so around 6 to 9 a.m. The For context, the electric shower uses again 10.8 kilowatts, so that is quite a significant power draw. Not to mention things like the kettle, the toaster, and whatever, that those things would be on at that particular time. So it would have cost me quite a significant amount of money. So the next thing to ask is, why have prices increased? And there's actually a good article from the People's Energy, which I'll link in the description, which describes the situation in quite plain terms. And essentially, they've come across three factors which have caused wholesale energy prices and therefore agile prices to increase. So first of all, there have been very cold conditions, at least in the UK, and in fact actually the rest of the world, and that increases energy demand. In fact, the Met Office have said that during this winter period, it has been significantly colder compared to other winter periods of previous years. The second thing is that there are less power from cheaper sources of energy. So, at least in the UK, the cheaper sources of energy concerned are wind power and nuclear. So, in terms of nuclear power, the reason why it's considered quite a cheap energy is because the fuel cost for nuclear is normally very low. They normally deliver energy at whatever cost. However, more recently, and this will become more of a pressing concern, a lot of nuclear power stations have been just undergoing maintenance and therefore have shut down for their maintenance period. And this is going to become more of an issue as we start to decommission more power plants. The second, more bigger reason, more larger reason at least, is that wind power has also been reduced during this cold period. So, what this causes is, because wind power is normally considered a fairly fluctuating source anyway, is that CGCTs, or combined gas cycle turbines, normally take up the slack, and they are very expensive because of the fuel costs for natural gas, but also the fact they can actually reflect their supply within the demand that we have actually means that prices do tend to stay quite high. And finally, although this hasn't affected prices directly, the link between EU and the UK energy markets is slightly different now, which, although hasn't directly put up prices, it has affected the level of automation and also the amount of complexity, which will inevitably affect prices. So, due to those three factors, and either way really, the result is that prices will be high throughout the day because, as I said, Agile is linked to the wholesale rates. But what this also means is that low or negative prices are less prominent within, for example, a year. So, what's my standpoint? What are my thoughts at this point? Should I go onto a fixed tariff? Should I go stay with Agile, or should I go to Go? Now, spoiler alert, I've actually moved on to Go Faster 5 hours. And I've made a table here to compare Agile to Go Faster 5 hours, and I've also got two best prices from two comparison websites. So that's USwitch and Go Compare. Note that all of these are based on prices in Yorkshire, so you will get to different prices if you're in a different part of the country. However, one thing that I can instantly tell you from the data and all the prices is that prices have really shot up across the board, which is just more evidence to the fact that wholesale prices are increasing at this point. However, I think the most interesting aspect by far is that you can actually stand to save quite a lot of money by just switching over to Go Faster from even the fixed rate tariffs. So even if you didn't care about the off-peak rate, you might actually stand to save a lot of money. So for example, if we have a look at Avro, which is 16.15 pence per kilowatt hour, we have a look at Octopus Go's peak tariff, and it's 15.18. I should also mention actually that I'm on a slightly cheaper rate because I was able to join before a certain date, which is completely blanked from my mind at this point. But essentially, I've got that rate for the next year. I think it's 13.38, but the off-peak rate is still the same. So what? So in this case, at least, you would save about a pence per kilowatt hour during the peak rate, but you could stand to save significantly more during the off-peak rate, even if you don't time shift whatsoever. Now, you do have to take the standing charge into account, and you would have to use around 7 kilowatt hours in order to start to save a bit of money, assuming that you don't do anything from the off-peak rate at least. But the most important thing is that if you can then time shift afterwards, so maybe turn on the dishwasher, maybe turn on the tumble dryer at night, you could stand to save a lot more. So yes, so that in that case, that's Well, I think that's very interesting. However, I probably should also mention is that you do need an SMETS1 or a secure branded meter or an SMETS2 smart meter to join either Go or Agile or Go Faster. The other fixed tariffs don't require a smart meter, so there is that too. I think another thing I will note is that actually Agile still makes sense if you have certain use patterns. So for example, if you have a solar and a battery and you have an excess that you want to export to the grid, you could actually access Octopus Agile's exports, which is a type of SEG or Smart Export Grid tariff. That is one of its kind really in the UK, where it does fluctuate just like Agile on half an hour increments, depending on the price of the wholesale rates. I also should mention that you cannot go on Agile Outgoing if you have Go or Go Faster. You actually get discounted rates with Octopus, and there are better alternatives, which I will speak either later in this video or alternatively in another video, and I think that might have spoiled it a little bit. And the most important thing is if you can deal with the higher rates of import by exporting and mitigating that cost, you could actually stand to do very well, especially if you have a battery large enough that you can dump all of that stored energy. EVM actually has a video on his experiences within the first month of his Give Energy system, which I will link in the description. And as you can tell, he has done quite well from it. The other thing I will mention is that I really can't hesitate to recommend two apps to help you decide whether you want to shift over to Agile or Go, or for example, you're already on those tariffs and you want an easy way of working out the costs associated. So, two apps in question are Octopus Go versus Agile and Octopus Watch. Both apps are available on Android. I do have an Android phone myself, and I know that Octopus Watch is available on iOS. So, overall, I want to make three clear key points, and two of these are actually taken from my previous video. So first of all, if you're on an SVT, please go on a price comparison website and check out whether you can save money. Interestingly, Uswitch and Compare the Market gave me two slightly different results. So they gave me Avro and Scottish Power. So please make sure you check a few of those price comparison websites to see whether you can save money. Alternatively, if it's too much of a hassle, you can use other services such as Look After My Bills, which I've definitely seen the adverts for, but it automatically switches you to cheaper tariffs where it can. Also, there is Money Saving Expert. They have a energy club which works in a similar way. They group together and they're able to get discounted rates. That also works quite well. Finally, I think it really is still dependent on your use case whether you stand to save money with Agile. Now, don't get me wrong, there are now less people who stand to save a lot of money with Agile in particular. For example, I think it's now gotten to the point where it's mostly people with solar arrays or some form of renewable energy generation and a battery in order to take advantage of the export tariff. However, I'm sure there are some people still left. And on top of this, there are also environmental aspects of it, which I didn't really touch upon in my previous video, but there is still available. So the main reason why the Agile lifestyle works quite well and indirectly incentivizes you for that, because the amount of surplus energy is normally related to a lower carbon intensity as well, especially when the surplus energy is wind. So there is that too, and I can completely understand if you are doing it for environmental reasons and you are able to time shift in that respect. So what have I actually done? So as I've alluded to previously, I've moved over from Agile to Go Faster. And one of the big reasons why I've done that actually is that I've added a solar and a battery. Now, I will do a few more videos on things like the installation and how much it saved me in a future video. However, the main reason why, and I know that I've just already spoken about it, is because as far as I'm aware, I'm not going to be producing that much exported energy. I'm still waiting on a few bits and pieces as well to really leverage the setup with export. However, there will definitely be a few videos in the pipeline, so make sure you click on that bell icon to make sure that you're informed of any future videos. Again, I will also mention that I do have an Octopus referral link, so that will give me and you £50 of credit if you use that link and you decide to join Octopus. Now, I've also done exactly the same thing. I've listed the Yorkshire EV Club and the MG Owners Club as well if you want to use theirs. Obviously, you don't have to use mine, but I'll be absolutely grateful if you do. So whoever's already actually used my link, thank you so much for using it. So that's pretty much it. So like the video if you like it or you found it informative, dislike it if you didn't, click on that bell icon to make sure you're informed of future videos. So the next video is likely to be a initial impressions video of the Lexus UX 300e, which I'm absolutely amazed to and really happy to tell you about. Make sure you've also subscribed. We're on nearly 900 subscribed, which is absolutely amazing. As I always say, you know, thank you so much for all my viewers and everyone that's been watching me over the last year and a half. I think that pretty much covers it. So thank you for watching and talk to you later.